Welcome to Jubilee on Air. We are live at the Line Hotel right here in Adams Morgan. So it is Jennifer, Nicole, Shannon, because why not say my whole name? And I am communications manager at Jubilee Housing, and I am here with.
Tyrell Holcomb. I am the Vice President of External Affairs at Jubilee Housing.
All right, and we are recording our first podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm so honored and thrilled to have you as our first guest.
Yeah, it's the inaugural. I mean, why not kick it off in a big way? Yeah, I'm excited to be here and able to talk about the work that we're doing from an external affairs perspective, and where we're planning to go with it, external affairs and advocacy perspective, and excited where we're going with it.
Okay, so tell us about Jubilee Housing and its mission. Justice Housing.
Yeah.
Give us an overview.
Justice Housing is rooted in the belief that residents can live in communities that are resource rich, and in that they have the opportunity to thrive. And so thinking about what that means to be in a community located in Adams Morgan, where you've got a number of quality schools and grocery stores and opportunities from an amenities perspective, but what that means to quality of life. And so Justice Housing is rooted in that belief that where you live should be a place that allows you to elevate. And I think that our work is rooted in what it means to do just that. It's how we're elevating the lives of people every day. And coupled with that wraparound service perspective, right? So we're ensuring that we're doing all we can for our residents. And I think quite often of some of the quotes I love. I think about former mayor, late Marion Barry. He talked about what you're doing for the last, at least the lost and the left out. And when I think about what we do at Jubilee, it's always doing it in that vein and spirit of ensuring that we're doing all we can for the last, at least the lost and the left out. And a part of that, I think wraparound service perspective, I think about our work that we're doing from a justice perspective, right? Our work is rooted in justice. And so what does it mean to work with individuals who are justice impacted or justice involved? And so we have residents who, as they return home from incarceration and they re-enter into the community, is where we get the word re-entry from. So as they re-enter into community, we at Jubilee, we're providing that same perspective of wraparound services for residents as they return home into community. And recognizing that the two biggest barriers for residents who return home are housing and services. And so as an organization, we're focused on those two, housing and services, right? So it's one thing to have housing, but what does housing coupled with services do for a resident as they're returning home? What does it do for a single mom of three? Right? Or my mom's a single mom of four, right? I think about what having a roof over your head and not having to worry about that as a parent or a family, what that does in the same vein, and likewise what it does for the senior who's looking for housing in a community that they maybe have known most of their lives or all of their lives, and even down to that sense of what it means for residents who are reentering society. And so, again, our work is, as an organization, is really rooted in what it means to be justice aligned, and just honored and proud to be a part of such an organization that believes in that full totality of the mission. It's not in just words, right? And I think a lot of times you in the nonprofit space, I've served my entire career just about in nonprofits, and I've been in some places and spaces where it was just by name. It wasn't really by deed.
Nice. Thank you for that explanation.
Sure.
I know we've talked a little bit, and I've heard how you got into this work, but I think it's so important for others to understand and hear a powerful story around how you became an advocate.
Just in terms of coming to this place of what it means to be an advocate and how I got into activism early on as a kid. I remember the eve of my 16th birthday. I spent at a candlelight vigil for an 8-year-old young lady, Chelsea Cromartie, who was killed in the community where my church was located. Grew up not too far from the church that I attended. And so my church was very active in community. And whenever something happened, the first place folks came was to the church. And I remember just seeing tons and tons and tons of people at that candlelight vigil. And that's how I spent my 16th birthday. And I remember, I can even remember the walk because there was a cutway that you could take to get there quickly. But there were just so many people, we couldn't even take the cutway. We had to walk all the way around. We walked a long way around, and I remember my pastor had this bullhorn, and we were on, gosh, what is the street that's behind the church? I can't even think of the name of the street now. But I know it's right off of Division Avenue in the city. You make a left, you go down. And originally we were going to have the candlelight vigil in front of our home. And it just was so many people that it didn't make sense to do that. But I mean, I wish someone had a photo from that day. I just remember though, what it meant to be there. And leaving her funeral later that next week, I remember getting in the car and just crying. And I told my mom that I wanted to be a part of the solution. And I appreciate having a mom who pushed me. But my mom was really my chief champion, and I do something completely different than what my mom did. My mom, would volunteer at the school when we were younger and would show up and help out. But my mom pushed me. My mom always found ways to ensure that my light was shining. And so she helped. And I personally, if it's not for my mother, I'm not where I am today, right? Because she saw that early on. And so I remember hearing the council member at the time talk about getting a new recreation center in the honor of Chelsea Cromartie and some of the other things. And he didn't deliver on those promises. And so I remember spending the summer on a campaign for a now former council member, chair of the council and mayor. But I remember spending a lot of that summer on the campaign trail, myself running for youth mayor of the program of Mayor Youth Leadership Institute, but then also on the campaign trail for him to be the next council member. There was so much synergy around we need a new leader because of what we were seeing, right? And so a lot of what we're even seeing now as it relates to, that piece around gun violence in the city, kind of similar, right? Like things go in circles. And if you understand what it means to address things at a root cause perspective, sometimes you got to pull from the playbook of the things that worked before, right? And I think that there are some things that worked before for us as a city that could work now, right? And so I think, we're being creative in that way. But it's one of those things where out of tragedy comes triumph. And I think about that moment and what it did for my life early on and what it's now done for my career. So much so that I remember being in the program department at the food bank and the CEO pulling me in the office and saying, I can see your passion for community engagement, but I feel like there's something else you should be doing. Right, even down to the director of the department saying the exact same thing. And so an entire role was created for me where I was leading our advocacy work and serving as a spokesperson for the organization. And so it was that particular moment, I think, at that juncture where I started shifting my perspective around the way I wanted my career to go. I didn't want to just be the programs guy, right? And being in the nonprofit space, sometimes you get caught up in that one thing that you do really well, and then that's it, right? But there's so much more that you can do and contribute. And so just thinking about what it means to utilize your God-given gifts in a way that is meaningful and impactful. And so I think, I've had that opportunity to do just that. And, thinking about the opportunities that have been afforded to me in my life since, speaking at the Millions More movement in 2005. Never seen that many people up to that point in my life in a crowd that I spoke at. Just many of the things that I've had that opportunity to do. But again, I go back to my mom being the chief person of, pursue your dreams, pursue the thing that you desire to do, and do it at full force. And so, that advocacy work, it inspired me eventually to run for ANC and advisor neighborhood commissioner, and some of the work that I've done there, and really recognizing the parallel similarities of sorts about how things kind of run close together when you're in alignment, right? And so, yeah, it's a great thing to examine and see that I get to do the thing that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about my city, but I'm also passionate about what it means to ensure that folks are housed in communities that are strong and resilient, right? And what does that mean to build strong, resilient families as well, right? And so, like, that's what we do as an organization. And so, again, it's that combination of passion. And then, oh, by the way, I have a stepfather who served 10 years in a federal penitentiary, and I have three brothers who have all, in their own lifetime, struggled with dynamics around incarceration. And so, for me, this is a full circle moment again, where it's, I live this, right? I've lived through it, even thinking about the housing dynamic. I was joking with my best friend the other day how, he was paying $600 a month on rent in our early 20s. And, I was couch surfing at the time, and we got put out. And we're laughing like, dude, how could you not pay $600 a month, right? That same apartment that you were paying $600 a month then now is like $1,400 a month. It's like, are you kidding me? But, thinking about what it meant, and just, that real life example of, you bring a lived experience to your work. And so it's not just, I do this for a paycheck, right? So yeah, I mean, I think all of those things play into it, yeah, it's funny to sit here and like have that moment of like jogging my memory, going down memory lane of like, oh, this happened in this moment, and we did this here, and we did that there. I mean, it's an incredible thing though to look at it and see how all of the things that have happened from a life perspective, a career perspective, bring you to a particular moment and where you're living at in that moment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, just hearing you talk about what happened, what influenced you to get into this work, especially something as tragic as a stray bullet hitting a young person, that's, yeah, that's powerful. That is like life changing
Yeah.
to know that and to go through that and be so closely like situated
Yeah.
in that. So thank you for sharing your background, your powerful story, and just how you have really grown up in this work from a teenager on. And we're not going to get into how old you are now, but we are going
We
to,
got some embarrassing photos that we can pull up, I'm sure.
I'm sure. And if we can find those photos, we will have them.
I'll provide them. And if the ones I don't have, I know my mom has. I can promise you that.
I'm sure. And I love what you're saying about your mom. I feel the same way about my mom, and hopefully my son will say that about
Yeah.
me.
We should do a whole podcast on moms. Mother's Day is coming up next month. Like, we should do a podcast about moms.
Okay,
That'd be amazing.
Listen, you cannot get. I will co-sign that one. I will definitely co-sign that one.
I mean, you all kind of know in the office, I like ideas, so I'll throw stuff out. You
will.
And,
You absolutely will.
Yeah, I mean, I love being in an organization where there are a lot of creatives, and so I appreciate that. Creatives and storytellers, right?
Really, what are the priorities for Jubilee is from an advocacy standpoint?
Yeah, priorities from an advocacy standpoint, from the person who wrote all of that stuff should be able to remember and not have to look at it on a piece of paper, right? But I mean, we're certainly focused from a perspective around what it means to have strong resources for our residents. Housing as the central theme when you think about all that we've done as a city around the House Production Trust Fund, building affordable housing in communities like Adams Morgan that are resource rich, right? Like going back to that core of justice housing. But we're at a very inflection point, really, where the housing market and housing ecosystem right now is, where there's so much rental arrearage that it's really bleeding out a lot of dynamics in terms of the housing ecosystem. And so to be able to provide safe communities for residents and provide some of the wraparound services and things that we do, you got to have money, right? Like one of the things I heard some years ago is ministry requires money, right? This is ministry, right? Our work is ministry, minister or ministry to serve, right? So we're providing a service, and to do service, you need to have funds to be able to do it, right? So it's not just we're collecting rents because we want to be the bad guy, right? Like and being able to be in some of these rooms, and I was having this conversation yesterday. Some of these rooms with some of the larger housing providers, some of it is you know it puts you in a place of reflection to think about, wow, that's why our work is so important. Because if it wasn't for mission-driven housing providers like Jubilee, think about the people who would not have that opportunity. And so, really, as we go into the budget season, we've developed a number of tools and resources, and I know I've been back and forth with your team, back and forth with Jim and some others around some of the things that we're doing. But really, we're thinking about what it means to have strong investments, maintaining those investments, knowing that we're going to go into a challenging period over these next few years or so from a budgetary perspective. And so how do we maintain the investments that we've made from a housing perspective? But how do we get better, right? So where are the room opportunities for improvement? And so, we see some of that from an OST perspective. And then even thinking about what it means from a reentry perspective. And so we've been doing having a lot of conversations in the reentry space and talking to folks around, where the opportunities lie there. How do we build even greater synergy as well? And so, we're thinking about what it means to have a strong city. And to have a strong city, it's supporting the people who are in need of that supportive services. And so I think when you think about the strongest indicators for returning citizens to not face recidivism, it's housing and supports, right? And so those are the key things that we do as an organization. Well, how can we do it even better, right? And I think for us to be thinking about how we do it better, it's doing it in partnership. And so building stronger partnerships, bringing in new ideas and new strategy, I think helps. And so we've got a lot of things that are coming down the pike as an organization. And so obviously over the last 10 years, we've been in this space, providing housing for returning citizens as they come back from incarceration, and thinking about what it means to have added a component of voucher program that's been funded by the city, and some of the other pieces that are happening in partnership with the city council and some of the other agencies and the administration. But thinking about that, we recently broke ground on a project we call KEB, but the King Emmanuel Baptist, where we're going to also have housing combined with that opportunity for workforce development. And so it's, a really important opportunity for us there as well. And so thinking about what that means as we're offering additional housing to folks who are justice impacted, but then combining it with what it means to give them that opportunity, right? And so we're going to have an aquaponics farm. And so kind of going back to some of my roots at the food bank, and being able to do some work there as it relates to produce and workforce opportunity for residents to be a part of that process, a commercial kitchen. We'll get to eat good at all times. No, our residents are going to benefit from that, in much of the community in terms of that partnership. And, so I think that's, really where our focus is at right now. And it's building those strong partnerships, maintaining them in a way that produces that results of ensuring residents aren't committing recidivism. And then I think lastly, that piece is around supporting strong families. What does it mean to have strong families? And so I know that our resident services team, shout out to them, they're doing a lot of work around creating and finding opportunities as it relates to resources and supports for our residents. And so, I talked about that, what it means to build strong community, resilient community. Financial literacy is one of those pieces, right? How do you budget? I think about I learned about budgeting early on from watching my mom flip the mail over to write out what the bills were for the month, right? And later on, I learned about spreadsheets and some of the other components, right, that are important in balancing the budget. And so what does it mean to ensure that we have programming that is crucial for our families as a Jubilee organization, as an organization? But then also, I think our charge as an organization, as we're in rooms, is to not just think about the things that impact Jubilee. We've got to also be thinking about the things that impact our city, and people who reside on properties similar to Jubilee is important, right? And so thinking about what that means for families in the eastern portion of the city. And so even when I think about our OST work and the things that we've been championing,
And when you say OST,
oh yeah,
I hate to
out of
cut
school time. Sorry, DC is an acronym town, so I apologize. So we can't say OST and not break down. So out of school time. So programming for before and after care, summer programming, or other special opportunities for programming for young people. But when I think about that for us as an organization that's in this resource-rich community, it's an amazing thing that we have young people who live on our property, go to school in the neighborhood, and then they're able to come back to our property and go to programming. But think about the kids or the families who have to commute and travel, right? So what does out-of-school time programming look like for them? And how can we be advocates to champion the things that will be allow them to be in a stronger position from a community perspective as well? And so, really, our priorities, if you nailed it down, our priorities are rooted in what it means to maintain the investments, grow stronger partnerships that ultimately help elevate the lives of residents who live on Jubilee properties, and then be thinking about what that means from a stronger, broader community perspective as well. It's a lot.
it is. It is a lot. It is a lot. Your work, you have your work cut out for you.
Absolutely.
But good work and work that you are so invested in. So we appreciate that. And I'm going to just kind of wrap it up now and ask you, how can people get involved? What do they need to do? Can they get involved
Yeah.
in advocacy?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, people can get involved in the work. And so I think there are a number of ways to do that, and some of the ways of which we're building out. So from a resident perspective, we're building out what's known as what we're calling the JRAC, because we love acronyms, Jubilee Residents Advocacy Committee. And empowering residents to be a part of the conversations, to be a part of what's happening down at City Hall, and really making it meaningful. I remember early in my career when we would go down to City Hall. I was working at an organization focused on violence interruption before we even called it violence interruption, but we were squashing beefs everywhere in the city. And I remember going down to City Hall and a particular council member saying, I don't want to talk to you all. You are the directors. I want to talk to the young people. And so what does it mean? I think from that perspective, what I took from that is, what does it mean to bring the people in the room who are most impacted by the work, right? And so you got to bring them along. And this belief that we're not doing this for you, we're doing this with you. Right. And so what does it mean to ensure that they're a part of it? And so that's that first piece is, residents being a part of what we're doing. And that's the first way we want people to be involved, the folks who reside on our property. And then it's thinking about who the partners are, who are the other key players within the orbit, the ecosystem, from a housing ecosystem or just the services-based ecosystem as a whole. And so it's thinking about how folks can contribute to that from that vantage point. And so some of it is in lockstep, locked arms, right? So it's showing up to hearings together, it's providing testimonies together, it's sign-on letters, it's some of those various things that we already do, but elevating it even more. And so as I think about what the next 3 years would look like from a department perspective, like most certainly it'll be a person or two on the staff. Shout out to our intern that we have right now. But it's thinking about what it means to grow the capacity to be able to have an even greater impact. And so it's exciting to be doing all of this work as a two-person team currently now, right? Like, but what more could we do? From a bandwidth perspective, how much more change could we drive? How much greater opportunity would we be able to create for our residents who we serve on a daily basis, and for our community as a whole, right? And so I think that other way that folks can get involved certainly is to be signed up and be aware of what we're doing. So follow us on social media, sign up for our newsletter, be in the realm of knowing what's happening and what's going on, and then as we share it out, find ways to get in and plug in and participate. And so, I think that we always think about the ways in which you can be a part of something is to give, like certainly, right? Like, but when you say give, it doesn't just mean give of your money, right? Give of your time, give of your talent, give of your treasure, give of your resources, give of your network, right? What can you add to the table? Thinking about a person who reached out recently about volunteering directly with advocacy, right? So what does it mean for people to pitch in a way that goes beyond just the resources perspective from a financial piece, right? Like how do you contribute in other meaningful ways as well? And so I think those are the ways that I imagine that folks can get involved and be a part of what we're doing and what we're building. And so I'm excited about some of the things that we've been talking about most recently, even down to some things. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves on it, but there's some exciting stuff potentially coming down the pike if all goes well. So yeah, just really excited to be in this work, and even in the challenging moments. I'm a sports guy, and I grew up playing football and baseball, but I watch all sports, and I think about a quote from Kobe Bryant. Each opportunity is a moment to rise. A challenge is an opportunity. It's a moment to rise. And so the challenges that are ahead of us are really moments. They're moments of opportunities for us to rise as an organization, as a city, as a community. And so excited to be a part of that, and hope that folks will want to be a part of that journey with us as well.
All right. Well, listen, you are a great storyteller. You have so many quotes. I know we are going to have a great time editing this. I appreciate your time, and we're in our infancy of this, but
Yeah.
we want to definitely be doing more where we're talking to each other. We're experiencing what you're experiencing
Yeah.
out there in the streets, and down there at DC Council, and
Yeah.
and doing your thing. So we wanna continue these conversations. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly have more stories to share. There are definitely some, definitely some, and give the people what they want. And I think what the people want is they want to know that what we're doing is impactful and it's meaningful, and it's changing lives, and that's the thing to be excited about. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
All right. Thank you.
awesome.
All right, we're going to sign off for now, but there will be a next time. More content, more information about Jubilee Housing. We have some incredible things going on. You've already talked about some of them with the aquaponics farm.
Yeah.
Jubilee Farms is coming. We have some stuff that we want to share.
Yeah. That's Kel in town. They're saying it's going to be.
I would like to taste it. So, anyway, we are definitely excited about so much that's happening at Jubilee Housing. I'm excited to be a part of it, excited to have this opportunity to explore a new avenue of telling this story. As you said, we are all storytellers, right? Yeah. And so, until next time, we'll talk to you soon.